I'm always sad to finish this show, but I'm especially sad now. Greetings, one and all. My name is Lancer, and welcome to the finale of Fate Zero. Not the first time I've said that on this channel, and let's be fair, it might not even be the last. But this is the last episode of our rewatch. As the last time on, my favorite episode of this whole show. One of my favorite episodes of anything. Kiritsugu face to face with the Grail, and the Grail showed him that if he truly wants his wish, it would mean the true destruction of humanity. Which would be happening anyway, because that's the Grail's wish as well. And Kiritsugu fully made his final needs of the many, needs of the few, giving up his family for the fate of the world, as he now uses his command seals to compel Saber to destroy the Grail. Much to her dismay and horror, it is the last command seal of the war. And well, it's time to finish this and watch the counter reach 0. Let's get right into the episode.
Stop!
Now, Saber, destroy the Holy Grail.
One last Excalibur.
How could I possibly hope to know a man? From merely 3 commands alone. I never even knew the hearts of those who served me well. Perhaps all this was a punishment meted out to a king who cannot understand others.
Not even a minute in, we got a lot to talk about with that. That's sort of the last respect I feel like she gives to Ryder. You know what? You were right about a lot of what you said about me. The punishment for a king who never understood others. But that's also kind of like a last sort of, I feel, sympathy towards Kiritsugu as well. Like, how could I have ever hoped to understand him when I didn't understand those closest to me? A little bit of a dubbing error. How could I have known a man from just 3 commands? Well, 2. Funnily enough, it's the first time he actually looks at her and, like, acknowledges her. The ultimate command. And he uses her as he's used her this whole war as a weapon to destroy, funnily enough. I would have liked if there was some things in Fate Stay Night where Shiro kind of got to talk to Saber. I mean, she kind of gets that loosely through some conversations, just like Kiritsugu, he was a good man. He's a good man when he just, you know, doesn't tell us about his past, but he found his way. That's why I do like in Fate Stay Night, Saber doesn't talk badly about Kiritsugu. Like, she does talk about how, like, he was a cruel man and a cold man, but she does still sort of talk about him in a manner of respect. And plus, I mean, he raises the man who ends up, depending on the route, being the one she falls in love with. All these places we've been. Familiar set pieces. Would it really be that simple, though?
That can't.
You're dead center, buddy. Talk about baptism.
It's impossible.
It's trying to birth itself. I've always kind of been confused on what exactly happens here. I understand that, like, this is the Grail pretty much just dumping out its contents right now, which is also kind of its, like, last-ditch effort to try and birth itself as well. That's why, like, it could have gone farther, but, like, it only went so far. It didn't destroy the whole city. This, again, just like the start, this bedroom had that dream again.
I had a really scary dream. A dream where I become a really big cup, and then I dreamed that these 7 gigantic lumps started to come into my body.
I also dream about Fate Zero a lot.
And then I hear the voice of Lord Eustace.
Eustace, yeah.
A big black hole opens up above my head, and the world burns.
Trying to save whoever he can.
Daddy looks at it all and just begins to cry.
That is a thing that always gets me, is seeing him, like, pick up a body as it turns to ash, and just, he did all that, kind of rejected his wife, his family, and destroyed the Grail, and now the worst thing he could have imagined happened, you know? I mean, it could have been worse, but still, like, this is bad enough that this happened at all. Because of his actions, really, but it does play on that needs of the many, needs of the few ideas still. Had the Grail been allowed to achieve its own wish, the whole world potentially could have been destroyed. So had he done nothing, that would have happened, but he did this, and people still died. It's one of those cases where, like, you're never gonna sleep easy knowing you made that choice. But the most you can tell yourself is, like, it could have been worse if I did nothing.
Is Daddy okay? Is he scared and alone?
Yeah, now he truly is
Daddy's
alone.
doing the best he can for you, so you'll never have to be scared again, Eliasfiel.
Is this conversation in the past or now? That same shot again.
Daddy always works very hard. He'll finish all of his important work, and he'll come home as soon as he possibly can.
God. It would have been a poetic cut to the logo again, because it was that same starting shot. This time it's the end, but we get that later. He does try so many times to come and get you, but fucking Oct. I don't know what Oct tells her, you know, because I'm sure it's a case where like he maybe tells her just like Kiritsugu betrayed us and he's never coming back, and probably left it at that, which led obviously Ili to be like, he left me, which leads her on her pseudo revenge quest in the 5th war. Oh, he was so close so many times. It's so bullshit. But speaking of the end,
Sakura, come on. I'm here to save you. It's okay now.
Sakura! Sakura! Sakura!
how are you here, Rin? Who could have brought you here?
Karya.
Well, in case it wasn't obvious. It's that moment where it's just like, oh wow, he actually got her out, but then like you see Aoi and it's like, oh no.
Thank you so much.
And her eyes are back. This moment's weird.
Daddy, Karya!
He was close. She's already gone.
You're such a fool. Never disobey, grandfather.
I don't know, like, when Karya died. There's this scene where, like, he's at the wall after Berserker dies, and then he just, like, slumps over. I feel like it might have been a case where, like, Zoken then just brought his body here, then just threw him to the bugs. It might have been a case where, like, he mustered whatever little strength he had left and tried to get to her, and then even if he did have any strength left to try and get her out, it would have been that, her, because Sakura's already gone. Stay tuned for Heaven's Feel.
Where am I?
Speaking of happy endings.
Digging you out from underneath all of this rubble was quite a troublesome endeavor.
Always up high,
What happened?
even
Who
nude.
can say? I imagine it to be an obvious message from heaven that I should return to this age to rule the world.
Are you saying you have achieved incarnation?
Of all the servants. It basically was a baptism, you know, returned to the Grail from whence he came and then was spit back out.
This ill-conceived and disappointing play remained a meaningless farce right to the very end.
But I was shot. I don't get it. I have no heartbeat.
Kind of a fitting thing. He died and then was resurrected, and then the blood on the cross. Kirei is Jesus. Much like how Kiritsugu had the Christ metaphor last episode.
The fact is, I really have no idea. To my eyes, you still seem quite dead. When I regained flesh within that mud, perhaps you were trapped in some sort of magical nonsense of your own.
That sums up trying to explain fate. I honestly don't know what the fuck happened, but it was some magical nonsense. It really is actually explained in Heaven's Feel. It all hit Gilgamesh, but because he's a servant, he couldn't be corrupted, really, or something like that. But because they are connected by their pact, it then spilled over to Kirei, who then was revived and corrupted in a way. Because at this point, like, Kirei is technically dead still. He's more dead inside now than he was before.
All the other servants are gone, so I suppose we must be the ones who have won the Grail. Behold the result of our victory.
This was your wish.
What you see before you, Kirei Kotomine, is your wish.
Destruction.
This is it? What the hell does this make me? What manner of dark evil? What manner of cruelty?
What am I?
This is my wish? This is the joy I sought? Could something so twisted, so corrupt, have truly sprung forth from the seed of Father Rise Kotomine?
Remembering his father in the end.
It is impossible. Did my father sire a soulless demon more evil than the devil himself?
Ironically enough, yes. I love how he's so like showmanship now, which I mean, it just shows like he's finally reached it. His truth. I mean, it's not actually what happened, but I like that that's his headcanon. Although I wouldn't be surprised if the Grail was maybe like, all right, well, fuck Kiritsugu's plan. Kirei, you're the runner-up. What do you want? It's just more because the Grail had nothing to hold its content, so it was just like, bleh. It also was Kirei's wish in his own way. Destruction and pain, the antithesis of Kiritsugu.
Satisfied now.
No, not yet.
Of course not.
It is true that my life of questions has finally found its answer. Problem-solving process itself was skipped over, and and the solution was just simply handed to me. How is it that I'm supposed to accept all this at face value?
I like that he wasn't healed. It's just he was brought back to life, so he still has like a hole straight through his, well, non-existent heart at this point. He's still bleeding out.
The formula that yielded this strange, unsettling answer should exist somewhere. As a greater, clearer principle one can understand. Not should, it must. I must dedicate the remainder of my life to fully understanding it.
Something that is not fully realized again until Heaven's Feel. Sort of in Fate's Stay Night, definitely not in Unlimited Blade Works. Again, that's why I like Heaven's Feel the most. Honestly, mainly because of how it ends Kirai's story, because I think it's perfect. Or at least I think it's a good ending for his character. Just him and Shiro beating each other to death as he's in front of the Grail about to birth itself, which is what he wanted, what he truly desired, to see all the destruction in the world. Kiritsugu being all the good in the world, Kirai being all the evil.
Your questions would slay the very gods. I shall watch you seek out your answer.
Watch you, not help you.
Angra Mainyu. I will reach it again. And next time, I will see it to the end. Its birth. The proof of its existence.
Again, stay tuned.
Kiritsugu. Emiya. I accept your challenge.
He's already defeated. I don't know. I think some part of him would just kill him, but he sees that he's already defeated.
Nothing.
I mean, and that's, yeah, that's it. I mean, not it for the episode, but what I've said since the beginning, it's one of my favorite parts of the show is how you see where Kirai starts and you see where Kiritsugu starts. One chasing his ideal and his dream and knowing what he wants. One who has no idea and is ultimately kind of just waiting for death. But yet steadily, one starts to lose everything going towards that dream and one starts to gain everything. Though both going through similar losses, they take it in different ways. One gains from it, the other loses. And I think it is fitting that Kirai's just like, yeah, nothing, and just sort of just like towards him. To think I was so interested in this broken man and honestly kind of respected him, but yeah, there he is, an empty shell. It's like it wouldn't even be worth killing him at that point. It'd be like breaking an already broken vase. Nothing more to gain from it. Speaking of Fate's Day Night, the final piece of the puzzle now rears his head.
I remember the look on his face. Over finding someone alive in the rubble. A man filled with joy. From the bottom of his heart.
It's funny because like Bryce Papenbrook ends up voicing Shiro in the Ufotable stuff. This was before that. The Dean Fate's Day Night had a completely different voice actor. But it's funny because like this voice sounds like a young Bryce Papenbrook, I feel like. Which is funny. I'm curious if they got Bryce because his voice sounded similar to this.
It was almost as though it had been him who had been saved that day.
Yeah.
And not me.
He's alive. He's alive.
Somebody.
He's alive.
So fervently that even as I teetered on the brink of death, I felt jealous of him.
I like
He
hearing
said
this. Yeah.
that by saving even one person, he had saved himself.
And that's what we were counting down towards. We are no longer in Fate 0. We are finally Fate 1. It still does get me, you know, seeing that scene again, just because, I mean, mainly Unlimited Blade Works delves into it. Like, you hear that monologue again, but, you know, it's Bryce that delivers it, and you see it from Shiro's perspective. Again, me watching this for the first time, I'm just like, cool, he saved somebody. Don't know who the fuck Shiro is. It adds to Kiritsugu's ideology now, what it is, just like coming back to what it was when he was a kid, where it's impossible to save everybody, but I'll save whoever I can, and he finally is able to save someone. Which I'm curious what Kiritsugu felt in that moment, because like there was that moment before where him and Kirai kind of locked eyes. It might have been a moment where he probably just didn't even see Kirai. It was just so happened that he looked up. In that moment, he's trying to save anybody. I'm curious if there's some part of him that just like sees Kirai and is just like, yeah, maybe not you though, or just the case of just like, yeah, you can save yourself. But we've counted down episode 25, Fate 0.
The explosion that occurred in...
I hope that
That's
Alexis
Canis' voice actor.
He called me this morning from Heathrow Airport. That idiot forgot all about the time difference.
It's just like him to do that.
Glad we get a send-off with him. She looks great for a grandmother. She's not even graying. She doesn't look a day over maybe 40.
Of course, I'll talk to Dad in Toronto about it first.
He's implying he's Canadian. I mean, he could be. I don't fucking know. He goes to school in England. Yeah, can speak Japanese.
brought all this on, dear? Is it school? You aren't fed up with it, are you?
No.
He's discovered something bigger,
You see,
grander.
so far I haven't really been interested in anything besides studying. I'm regretting that a little. I'd like to do some traveling.
I'd like to do some conquering.
That sounded exactly like something Alexei would say.
If you wouldn't mind too much, could I possibly stay here until I get everything worked out?
Of course you can, Waver dear.
That's what he
It would
wanted.
be so wonderful to have you live here with us for a while longer.
Stay here.
He was just a spirit, so I don't get how he could have possibly left such a mess behind.
He's a conqueror. Of course he did. I mean, just up and left in the middle of the night.
I really did want him to take me with him. I guess it basically means that I'm just not there yet. I'm not ready.
I like to think that that landed where Persia was, though I don't think so, because that's Africa and all that, so maybe America, which don't.
He never even got the chance to open this.
You didn't get to play. Nah.
A limited edition with an original t-shirt. What an idiot.
Might as well try it out. I love that. I mean, that's the end of Waver's story. He sought that glory, you know, his life to be somebody. But this Skandar, through this 2 weeks, glory lies beyond the horizon. Seek it for yourself. And he found it. And I mean, he will find it. His journey's only just begun. Skandar giving him that push. I do love going into the case files that it does do well at paying honor to Waver's character in this show. He does feel like a grown-up version of this character. And I love that, like, you pick up with him, like, he's still playing this game to this day. You even see a glimpse of Waver at the end of Unlimited Blade Works, because why not?
I know that my Redeemer lives. And though, after my skin, worms destroy this body, yet in my flesh shall I see God. I myself will see him with mine own eyes. How my heart yearns within me. Amen.
How poetic to have Kirei giving a sermon at Tokiomi's funeral. It reminds me a lot of the deleted scene from Death Note where Light is at L's funeral. It's just like, I win! But, you know, this one's a lot more tasteful.
It was an excellent debut for the young new head of the Tosaka family.
I'm your
Father,
guardian
I'm
now.
very pleased with you today. You haven't quite grown fully accustomed to your crest yet, I see. Does it hurt?
It always hurts.
It's nothing.
I imagine that all the magic the Tosaka family has accumulated will pass to you without incident.
She's a prodigy.
Well, why don't you go and fetch your mother now?
She lives somehow. It's a case where it's not that Karia like snapped her neck. He choked her out and she most likely just passed out from that lack of oxygen, but it's just like how did she live that? I know that obviously she doesn't live much longer after this because I mean she's not brought up ever again. And plus I'm pretty sure Rin talks about how like she's dead by the time of Fate's Stay Night, which kind of makes me feel just like I feel like it would have served the same purpose if she died, which makes me wonder who discovered her. Well, I guess maybe Kirei helped her just to put Rin in more debt to him.
Is it someone's funeral today?
Father died.
Oh dear. Then I should take out Tokiomi's black suit. Help Sakura get changed, will you?
I can't imagine Tokiomi wearing black. He only ever wore red.
Goodness, dear. Your necktie isn't on straight. You need to look good. After all, you're the father of Sakura and Rain.
Well, at least in her delusional state, she still thinks fondly of Tokiomi, which does at least give some peace that he wasn't the worst husband.
I'll be leaving Japan again for a while. Do you have any immediate concerns?
None at all. I don't need your help for anything.
He's gonna become an overseer.
Take care that you are in peak physical condition when I return.
Peak condition as a 6-year-old.
And to commemorate this day, I'd like to offer you a very special gift.
You're such a fucking dick.
When my master acknowledged the results of my training and declared it finally complete, he presented this to me.
I'm regifting a gift I got like a couple days ago.
This was my father's.
He realizes what he likes. Ugh, Fucking bitch. And well, that's the end of Kirei's story in this. Fuck me. Just that subtle smile in there. It's just giving the blade that your master gave you that you then used to kill the girl's father with is just such a dick move. But he likes it though. He likes the pain, the suffering, and he only continues to put Rin through that for the rest of her life. Which I would have liked to have known more of, like, the details of Kirei raising Rin. And obviously he trained her to an extent. He would have had to, because she physically wasn't ready to learn a whole lot of magic, especially physical training stuff. But obviously by the time we see her in Fate Stay Night, she's a prodigy. She's a great fighter. Which, I mean, having one of the best Inquisitors train you will help with that. Plus, I would have liked to know in a lot of the adventures that Tokiomi went on. It would have been kind of interesting if, like, in the background over here somewhere, like, Gilgamesh was, you know, here. His former master's funeral. Oh my god. Back to her battlefield. Her endless hell.
Everyone, Lancelot.
Right, I forgot about his final monologue.
I could not stop myself from loving Guinevere. I was never able to forgive myself. You never once spoke of my many sins. You never sought atonement from me. You simply continued to stand before us in your righteousness.
How did the Guinevere thing work with King Arthur? I know it's both kind of a joke, but also kind of reality that, like, in this version of events, because King Arthur's female, that, like, Merlin granted her the ability to conceive children. Consider that as you will.
Deep in my heart, I desired judgment at your hands. Had your righteousness condemned me, I might not have fallen onto the path of madness.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I am unworthy.
But this much I can say with certainty.
One day, friend, I will claim the Grail.
You were the greatest of all kings who ever lived. All of those at the Round Table who served you felt the same as I did.
I should have been king.
I should have been king. Yeah, I mean, I know that a lot of people will talk about how, like, Saber's character was handled in this, like, completely butchers her, but I won't deny that Saber goes through a lot in this war, in the show, but it's always hard to be like, man, I wish any of this really kind of affected her going into Fate Stay Night, because, I mean, this was made after, so it's impossible to have that. That's why I do like that the Ufotable adaptations, because those were made after this adaptation. They actually adapted it in chronological order. There's at least those feelings of, like, the conversations she's had with Ryder and then this here at the end with Berserker. They did happen and they did affect her, because her whole wish isn't really brought up in the Ufotable adaptations, at least. It's really only done so in the Fate Stay Night route, which is why I would like to see Ufotable do a Fate Stay Night adaptation now and have it be one that does pay respects to Fate Zero. As much as that would piss off so many pure Fate Stay Night fans, I would love it. Just that, though, like, the fact that servants, like, return sort of to these moments. Because, like, that's what the Grail does. Like, it really just rips them from their history and then sends them back once they're used. But yet they still have, obviously, the memories and whatnot of what they just went through. It's like this time whiplash. She returns here to what was the end of her life, but it wouldn't be forever.
I visited the Einsburns many times, but as I had not returned with the Grail, Yubstachite never opened the forest's barrier for me. I never saw Ilia again.
Yeah.
I swore that Iliasfeel would be the final person I would ever lose. My life was meant to be one solely of loss.
Fun thing in the background. We know who that character ends up being. Fun thing, though, because I know in, like, the novels and manga and stuff, I'm forgetting the Taiga's the name of the teacher. She has, like, an interaction with Waver and Ryder that is cut from the anime, which is sad, but which is why I'm looking forward to going through the manga properly since I finally got my hands on it. I'm gonna read it and see, like, those scenes that were taken out. Again, watching this for the first time, no idea. Barely even knew what Fate Stay Night even was.
Everyone is still here, just like when we met. Once I was able, I adopted my son Shiro, the little boy I saved that day.
The little boy who will just never talk about who his original parents were. I mean, I get that the whole thing that happens with the fire and all that, and like it causes him to have like that amnesia of just like, wait, who were my parents? But he's what, like 6, 7? I get like trauma, especially that young, will really affect somebody going into their teenage and adulthood, but he really just has no memories whatsoever of his birth family. Kiritsugu's dad now.
Hey, old man. If you're so tired you're gonna fall asleep, go to bed.
I'm fine. When I was little, I really wanted to be a hero.
What are you talking about? Did you just give up?
Kind of a problem with that.
Seems that wish has an expiration date. When you grow up, it's hard to call yourself one. I wish I had realized that sooner.
Yeah, well, and also when you're this close to kind of reaching your ideal of being a hero and, you know, the world burns for it, kind of hard to call yourself a hero ever again.
Well, guess there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. Right. I guess not. It really is a nice moon tonight.
Since you can't do it, I'm gonna be a hero for you. You're an adult now, so you can't do it anymore. I'll make it happen.
Yeah, you will. Fuck.
All right, you do that. I can rest easy now.
Tell me, Carrie, what do you want to grow up to be?
Well, what I want to be is a hero.
A hero. Well, once again, I say, that was Fate Zero. What an ending, man. There's a part of me that feels like it's a little quick of an ending, but it's also knowing Fate Stay Night. From the moment Kiritsugu saves Shiro, it's like, you know what happens from that point out. You know, the last little rap out was, you know, mainly for like Waver and Kirei and even Rin, some stuff there, and also some rap out with Sakura. I mean, also Saber is kind of heartbreak of a rap out too, but it is also like that last shining bit of hope as you have Shiro, you know, at the end, just like, I'll be a hero for you. Eventually he summons her, and then the war starts again. It's sweet, but also heartbreaking from Kiritsugu's perspective, hearing him say that. Because, I mean, Shiro goes through his own ideological destructions over the many routes of Fate Stay Night, which, going into those shows, and again, I've said through many stuff, like, Fate Stay Night, I'm not the biggest fan of it. Is a lot of that kind of tainted because I watched Zero first, kind of, but at the same time, had I watched Fate Stay Night first, and then watched Zero, I feel like I might have felt the same way. As you've probably been seeing lately, I've been posting these fun edits that I've been doing of some of my favorite speeches and moments that have happened throughout Fate Zero with my own little flavor added to it. I've seen a lot of comments on those of certain Fate fans. Like, you know, there's been a lot where, you know, it's people just being like, yeah, Fate Zero is the fucking shit, and people being like, yeah, this is cool. But it has sparked a lot of debates, mainly about like the Grail dialogue episode ones that I've uploaded, where it's just like, yeah, wow, this is just the biggest slap in the face to Nasu's Fate Stay Night, which my argument with them always boils down to just like contradictions, whatever. Deep down, for me personally, I love it more than anything, just because detaching it from the rest of Fate Stay Night, it's just a great story with great characters, and it is the ultimate tragedy. Because ultimately, when you boil it all down, it's Kiritsugu's story. The biggest problem I have with Fate Zero, though, is just, I always felt like, because it had to be a prequel to Fate Stay Night, it had to show how these characters got to certain points. Kiritsugu, Kirei, Shiro, Rin, Sakura, Gilgamesh, even Saber to an extent, Ilya. It kind of falled into the Star Wars prequel thing, where it's like, by the final movie, so much is set up with so many different characters, and by the end, you know the conclusion it has to reach, ultimately. The end of Revenge of the Sith, it has to end with Anakin turning to the dark side, becoming Darth Vader, Palpatine killing all the Jedi, Yoda and Obi-Wan going into exile, and Luke and Leia ending up on Tatooine and Alderaan. It's those points that you have to reach, ultimately. But at the same time, Zero had more to work with than that, I feel, just because it had more it could play with. But it also did have that where it had to reach the inevitable conclusion where Kiritsugu is a certain way by the end, especially in the eyes of Shiro, who is his ultimate hero figure, and what ultimately leads him to becoming the Shiro Emiya we know, and also the archer that we know. Which is why Unlimited Blade Works was so close to having a good story with that, in my opinion. The archer being Shiro Emiya twist, when I first saw that, I actually really liked it. I thought that's still one of my favorite twists in Fate, and one of my favorite story beats. And Archer, honestly, is one of my favorite characters in Fate still because of that. But I also just feel like Shiro's naive view of heroism and just like being this hero of justice, it is so naive and it's so childish, which to be fair, he is a literal child, which is also why I feel like the version of Shiro we have in Heaven's Feel is my favorite version of Shiro, because he finally reaches an ideal of heroism that feels right. Because like the Fate Stay Night Shiro, it's like, I'll be a hero, period. And you know, Saber is kind of an extension of that. And in Unlimited Blade Works, it's like, I'll be a hero of justice for myself, which also extends to Archer. I'll save people no matter what, which leads to a lot of points where it's like he can't save everybody. He's hung up on that, unlike with Kiritsugu. But then the Heaven's Feel version is, I'll become a hero of justice for a single person, for Sakura. Which is why out of all the romances and all the routes in Fate Stay Night, the Sakura one is the most believable one to me. The Rin Tsundere route, sure, like, yeah, it's cute, I like it. And then the Saber one has always been a stretch to me. It's a sweet scene and I like it and it does make me emotional, just Shiro being like, I'll be a hero for you. Just adopting Kiritsugu's ideals, but it's also painful because it's like, oh, the cycle is repeating again. I mean, Kiritsugu was naive like that at one time too. It's just, the difference obviously is Shiro doesn't become a fucking killer to save the world, but it does kind of reach the same thing where by the end of Shiro's story, all the routes, it's like, I'll be a hero of justice, but then the stories just end. So it's like, but what happens? How does he become that hero? You can't My Hero Academia this shit and from the beginning be like, this is the story of how I became the world's greatest hero, and then just not do that. That's why, again, at least in Heaven's Feel, it ends where it's just like, yeah, him and Sakura are together, they get married, and it's nice. You know, it's just kind of like a romance story by the end of that, which is why I like it more that Shiro has those naive views of being a hero and what he thinks Kiritsugu is in his eyes. And over the course of going through the Fifth Holy Grail War, he steadily discovers that maybe this ideal is flawed and maybe this false view I have of my father is not what he truly is and not who I should be, because it kind of falls hand in hand with what Saber is as well, this false ideal of kingship. Honestly, someday I maybe will do the Unlimited Blade Works Heaven's Feel stuff. I will not do Fate Stay Night because I do not want to rewatch that god-awful show ever again. Just because I feel like I do have things I can say and talk about. It's just not nearly as much as with Zero. Coming back to Zero. I started this rewatch because, again, over this past year, I have gone through such a journey with anime to where I've experienced so many shows, and some shows that I have dared to say have become my favorite of all time. But I've realized through this rewatch of this show that was at one time for many years my number one. I even said it on video at one point. I've realized that I've jumped the gun with saying that Attack on Titan is my favorite show of all time. Mainly because it still hasn't even been a year since I watched that show for the first time. And I still feel like I need to give it a bit, because Attack on Titan definitely is one of my favorite, period. No questions about that. But I don't know if I can say that is my favorite of all time. But sitting here now, 5 years later after watching this show, and this being my like 6th or 7th rewatch of the show, and honestly this possibly being my favorite rewatch of it all since the first time, I've realized I've had so much to talk about. Obviously, these videos have been ungodly in terms of their length and have been such a pain in the ass to edit, but I've loved every second of it, to be fair, just because I'm getting the chance to talk about my favorite show of all time again, even though I did it not even 2 years ago, but this time I have such a more fleshed out lens and ideology. I mean, the biggest shows I've watched that have played to that have been the shows of Vinland Saga, Attack on Titan, even Freyrin and Orb fairly recently, and also Hunter x Hunter as well, that have opened up my philosophical lenses and these ideologies that I've had in my life. And now coming back to it, like, this show is a benchmark show really for me, where I don't watch it every year. I try to give it maybe like 2 years in between. The last time I did rewatch it on the channel, I was just like, this show is my favorite of all time. But even despite that, watching many other shows that have become some of my new favorites, I come back to it now again. It's still one of my favorites, no question about that, but is it the best? And well, I kind of have to retract a lot of what I said about Attack on Titan. I'll never retract the praises I've given to it, but to say that it is my current favorite anime of all time, I think I jumped the gun on it. Fate Zero, man, is still my number one, and I think that leads to the beauty of it. Being able to rewatch it over and over and over again is reminding myself. It does feel refreshing every time I do it, because I hit those moments again and again, and I'm reliving it and re-experiencing experiencing it, and this show never grows old for me. And like, I feel those emotional beats because it is a journey for so many characters. And by the end, though we started with so many and now have so few, the characters that we started with that we now have at the end, Kiritsugu, Waver, Kirei, and that's it. The rest are dead. I know that there are very few people that will ever agree with me, especially where Fate fans are concerned. Because though I've said I am a fan of Fate, like, I am a fan of Fate. The franchise, like, I like a lot of the other stuff. Apocrypha, Grand Order. I'm a fan of the Fate concept. I, however, am not a fan of the Fate stories. A lot of those other stories are ones where I turn my brain off and just sort of enjoy the action and what's happening on screen. But this is a story where I am fully locked in. The action is secondary. Hell, it's third to the characters, ideologies, and stories that are taking place on screen at the show, and it does not get enough praise for that. I just feel like Fate fans gatekeep the fuck out of this show for no reason. They reverse gatekeep it, really, because Fate Stay Night fans are so up their own ass about Fate Stay Night being this pinnacle of storytelling when it's really not. I don't care about your 100-hour porn novel that came out fucking 20 years ago. I get that one came first and there is a precedent that has to be set for it, but I don't give a fuck. I love this show because you can watch it and never in your life ever touch another piece of Fate ever again, and you get it. Is there setup for more? Yes, clearly, with the kids, with Shiro, Rin, Sakura, Ilya. You can watch it, but you can come back to Zero and still enjoy the fuck out of it. Which is honestly, like, I do tell people, it's like, you should watch Zero and then Unlimited Blade Works and Heaven's Feel. After that, you should stop because you just get into insanity at that point. That's really the main core of the story. And you really do have to watch it in that order, because if you watch Heaven's Feel without watching Unlimited Blade Works, you're going to be very confused. Overall, in case it wasn't obvious enough, I could endlessly talk about this show. And honestly, like, rewatching the episodes, there's always stuff where I'm just like, ooh, I should have talked about that, or I should have maybe fleshed out my conversations on that a little more. But hey, yo, I will never stop talking about this show. If that was the case, every one of these episodes would be like an hour plus in terms of how long it would be, but I don't have that kind of time. I already kind of rushed through this rewatch more than I would have cared to do, just because I am planning to jump into another very large series here on the channel, and I did want to do this, obviously, as kind of a breather in between, though it ended up being much more of a commitment than I would have guessed. But I still had so much fun with it. And I won't do what I did at the end of my previous series and say that I will react to Unlimited Blade Works and Heaven's Feel at some point. Honestly, doing it back then, I should have done it immediately after I did the first series, because I spent way too much time in between that and lost all interest. But I will not say that I will never react to it on the channel. It just won't be anytime soon. Just because Fate's always one of those shows where I do need a breather in between, but I need to sort of still have the interest to continue to watch it, because it is kind of a commitment to jump back into. For now, this is definitely going to be one of those videos where I definitely should have talked about way more stuff, but I spent 24 episodes yapping so much. I definitely should have put disclaimers at the start, just like the majority of these videos are not really reactions, but more video essays, because again, this is not even the first, second, third, or fourth time I'm watching this show, but I still had a drive and want to watch it, especially after watching so many other amazing shows. And well, it's about time I say goodbye to it again. Again, it's a show that I can't wait to show to more and more people, be that friends, family, spouses, just because it's a timeless show, and it's one that anybody who's anyone can take something away from it. And overall, though I'm recording this before even a single episode comes out on YouTube, let me know what your thoughts about Fate Zero are down in the comments below. Be you an avid Fate fan, or a casual fan, or somebody who maybe is as crazy as me and likes Zero and likes it as much as I do. It is a show that opens up those conversations, and I'm fully willing to have them. And though this will probably be the last of Fate for a long while for me, at least here on the channel, I hope you'll join me for many other videos of this sort, be they future anime reactions, reviews, gameplay, and everything else that'll be coming out soon. So thank you all for joining me on this. I'm Lancer. Thanks for watching.